when I was young, a lot of people now, if you talk about countries with war and famine and things like that, a lot of people go back to Africa, you know, and things that happened there. A few years ago with Bob Geldof and Live Aid and all that stuff, it was Ethiopia. When I was a kid, it was a place called Biafra in Nigeria. They wanted to separate from Nigeria, but I remember seeing starving children there, and I knew about apartheid, and I knew about slavery and racism. But they were all things that were done to us by the white imperialist, slave driver, colonialist, etc. And I remember as a kid seeing this, what was going on in Biafra, and I said to my mother, "Mother, look what those white people are doing to us again." And she said, "No, son, that's black people doing it to black people." And I was just horrified. I just thought, wow, the world's bad enough as it is, but people can do this to themselves. And that was kind of one of my first big political awakenings. And then thinking I wanted to do something about it. And here's me, a little boy in Aston or Handworth in Birmingham, thinking, what can I do about it? And I always loved poetry. So at first, my poetry was just to impress girls in the playground, you know. I'd go to a girl and say, "What's your name?" And she'd say her name's Lorna, and I would say, "Yes, Sister Lorna, meet me around the corner." But I started to write about things that I saw on the television, that I was trying to understand. And some of them were, I was a little naive, but of course I was only a kid. But that was it, that was how I first started to comment on the world. I became a vegan when I asked my mother, she gave me some meat to eat, and I always used to eat meat very reluctantly. And I said to her, "Where did the meat come from?" And she said, "From the butcher." I said, "Where did the butcher get it from?" And she said, "From the farmer." I said, "Where did the farmer get it from?" And she said, "From the cow." I said, "Where did the cow get it from?" She said, "You silly boy, that is the cow." And I just said, I said, "I don't eat my friends." I learnt many years afterwards that George Bernard Shaw, is that his name? Yeah. Also said the same thing when he became a vegetarian. He said he won't eat his friends. At the time I thought I was being highly original. But yeah, that was it. But the basic answer to your question is, when I was really young and I realized that I could live without eating other living things, and that mankind could live without fighting each other, without racism. It's a big ask, but I think we can do it. And I said to myself, what can I do about it? I could write a few poems. You must understand that I went through a period in my life where I got in trouble with the police and I went to prison and all that. And that was because some other people led me astray for a while. While I was in prison, I didn't have any big revelations, but I did think to myself, I want to come out and go back to that dream I had when I was a young boy. And just to add, at some point, as I referred earlier, I started to watch the Bruce Lee films and all that. When I realized what real martial arts was about, I saw that they were all compatible. And unfortunately, it's not very often I get to speak about both things at the same venue. So, back to the question. I must say, they're so shy and well behaved. How did you do this?
Sorry. You're quite a motivational speaker. Who inspires you?
It's interesting you say that, because I feel I'm a terrible speaker. I really don't like my accent. I don't use notes, because I'm dyslexic. And if I try and read and speak at the same time, it's terrible. I tried it once and I made a real mess of it. So as I'm speaking, first of all, I've got to say, I always talk from experience. It doesn't matter what I do. If somebody asks me to talk about economics, I'll just do it from experience. So that way I can't go wrong. I can't give out any wrong statistics, it's just me. My mum had 5 pounds, she gave me 2. You know, that's a fact. And unfortunately, when I'm doing interviews with the press, I find that's a really difficult question to answer. Because I know what they want me to say. They can go on my website and they can say, oh, you met Maya Angelou, you met Nelson Mandela, you met this and that philosopher. And they want me to say that. But actually, the people that really inspired me are everyday people. But some of them work in their community and don't get recognized by the wider society. Some of them do really amazing things politically and don't get recognized. Some of them don't want to be recognized, they just want to work in their community. And those people are not called Mandela, they're called Smith and Jones and Mr. Graham and, you know. And they don't come from a great line of intellectuals or anything like that. They don't have a book to sell, they don't have an agenda. Those are the people that really, really inspire me. I did something the other day. I was in Belfast and I met a woman who was ex-IRA. And she told me her story and how she's working with women now from Catholic and Protestant and bringing them together. And I remember hearing exactly the same story from a woman in South Africa who worked with the armed wing of the ANC and is now working with white communities, bringing them together. And I thought, you know what I'm going to do? I gave them a bit of a donation and brought the 2 of them together. Because those people are really inspiring. And they're not interested in getting a Nobel Peace Prize. So, if you asked me to do a lecture on those people, I couldn't. But if you asked me to speak about my experiences meeting with them, I could. And that's the difference, really. I don't, when you said I'm a motivational speaker, I am a professor now at Grinnell University. But I never do a lecture. I go in there and I just talk about my experiences.